Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to be talking about radicals. All right, we're going to do a little Algebra 1 review. So you need your notebook out, you need your calculator out, and you need a pencil or a pen. Here we go. First thing, you want to write this down. This is called the square root. All right? Square root, when we're talking about this, has a radical. This is our radical symbol right here. You'll find those on your calculator. You want to make sure you know where that's at in your calculator. We're going to be using it a few times today. And then we have a radicand. That's what is inside of our radical symbol. All right. When we'll be working with radicands and square roots, we're going to take like the square root of 49. If we do that, some of you might already know 49 is a perfect square. So if we plug that into your calculator, the square root of 49, and it's going to shoot out 7 for us. So that's a perfect square. So it's going to come out as a whole number. But sometimes, if we get a radical answer that is a decimal, to be the most accurate, we will not want to write it as a decimal answer. We'll want to simplify it as a radical. Okay? So right now, if we would plug in the square root of 8, we get 2.82 something, I'm sure. And we don't want the decimal answer. We're going to work on how we're going to break that radical down. Okay? So no decimal answers at all. We're not going to accept any of those. Only radical answers or whole numbers. Alright, perfect square. If you're going to want to write this down, this is extremely important. You need to know your perfect squares. So I'm doing 1 through 15. Those are the most ones that we're going to use for the most part. 1 squared, we're going to get 1. 2 squared is 4. 3 squared is 9. 4 squared is 16. 5 squared is 25. 6 squared is 36. 7 squared is 49. 8 squared is 64. 9 squared is 81. 10 squared is 100. 11 squared is 121. 12 squared is 144. 13 squared is 169. 14 squared is 196. And 15 squared is 225. So if you need to take a moment and pause, go ahead. You need to get these all written down in your notebook. You'll be referencing them a lot. Alright, once you have those down, we're going to move on to our first example. We are going to be simplifying radicals, writing them without a decimal, okay? We do not want any decimals. We only want perfect square roots. So if we look at 45, if we went through that list on that second page right here, 45 is not one of our perfect squares. What we need to do is figure out a perfect square that goes into 45. So if we think about 45, you want the largest perfect square that can go into it. So largest perfect square that can go in to 49 is 9. And you can go through and check this by dividing. Just take 45 divided by 9. And you'll find that 9 times 5 is 45. That's how we're breaking it down, because we can take it apart. 9 times 5 is 45, so it still means the same thing. Now, the square root of 9 is a perfect square, so we can write that as 3 square roots of 5. This is how we're going to simplify it. We broke it down. We can't take it any further because 5 isn't a perfect square, and there's no perfect squares that can go evenly into 5. Alright, make sure you have this one written down. We're going to do 3 more examples that I need you to make sure you write down, alright? Next one, 50. We need to find perfect square. In order to do this, I just like to, first thing I do is like 50 divided by 2. Well, that's 25. Oh, 25 is a perfect square. So I can say 25 times 2 would be the same as 50. Break it down. 25 is a perfect square, which is 5 square roots of 2. And leave it just like that. Alright, moving on. Next example, 125. Same thing here. What can go into 125? If you're having troubles with this part, just take out your calculator. Take out your list of perfect squares, just start dividing. Okay? Over and over until you find one. The perfect square that goes into 125, though, is 25. And if we want to do this in your calculator, 125 divided by 25, you'll find out that it goes into it 5 times. Simplify this, the square root of 25, it's the perfect square is 5. times the square root of 5. And that's going to be our answer because 5 cannot be broken down. All right, last example. Now, if you notice, this one's a little bit different. It's got that 5 on front. It's very important to know that this means 5 times the square root of 32. Now, to simplify this, we need to find a perfect square that goes into 32. So we're going to have 5 times the square root times the square root. And the perfect square root that goes into 32 is 16. So I have 16 and 2. We break that down. 5 times square root of 16 is 4 times. We're going to leave the square root of 2 because there's not a perfect square that can go into it. Now, to simplify here, you have to take 5 times 4, and 5 times 4 is 20 times the square root of 2. So 20 square roots of 2. And that is our answer. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have for you today. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will be seeing you later. Bye!